It's Monday night. It's Hamilton County Television. It's 7 o'clock. That means it's time for the Hamilton County Coaches Show. Good evening, everybody. I'm Brad Silbert along with Craig Adkins, welcoming you to the Monday night edition, the second to last edition of Hamilton County Coaches Show for the 2016 season. Program tonight is brought to you by Greek's Pizza on South 10th Street here in Noblesville. You can pick it up or you can order it at 317-773-4444. Our other sponsors tonight are Logan Street Signs and Banners. They specialize in last-minute signage and banners. And also Noblesville Trophy. They offer a large range of products including sports trophies, corporate awards, and in-house embroidery. Coach Michael Kelly is with us tonight from the Fishers Tigers. Coach, kind of a rough night at the office on Friday night against the Shamrocks.
Yes, sir, it was. Unfortunately, not the game you won on senior night. That's for sure. I thought, it was coming out of the gate. We jumped out on top, 10-0 in the first quarter, and then struggled offensively, and that's kind of been our MO for the whole season. We start fast, or we'll start relatively fast, relatively speaking, quickly, but then we fizzle quickly. So I think we're still looking for that consistency offensively. 4 quarters of football, just maintaining our expectation of what we can be. I think that's really what we want. Is we want to work to be what we're capable of being and playing, and we're just not doing that right now.
We kept seeing updates, and Perry and I wished, and I think Brad probably down 15 feet to my left Friday night at Southeastern. We wish we could have had monitors because we kept seeing, Jim would tell us in our ear what the score was, and it was it was lead changes like a basketball game, and it was one of those games we kind of wanted to keep tabs on and watch as well. But I mean, it seemed like it was just that kind of game, and almost whoever had the ball last or was able to do something on their last possession would come out victorious.
Yeah, well, to start out the game, I believe we forced 2 turnovers and got 10 points off of those turnovers. And like I said, we kind of fizzled out, and then they scored and went on a scoring rampage right there before the halftime. And then to start the second half, we fizzled out again and went at 3 and out, and they took the ball and scored quickly. And then we had an opportunity to score again and had a turnover, another turnover. And so turnovers killed us late in the game. I think we turned it over twice, turned it over 3 times, lost 2 of them. Fumbled, I should say, 3 times and lost 2 of them. And then we forced 2 fumbles from them. So they made the most of those, though. They scored 14 points. I believe we only scored 10 off of those turnovers. So
It was almost like it was the tale of 2 halves, Coach, because in the first half, you guys went out to a 10-9 lead at halftime, and then in the second half, Westfield outscored you 22-7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And then we came out and we were moving the ball offensively, and then we fumble right at about midfield. And they take the ball and score it. And then the next possession, I believe, we again fumbled. Actually, we scored a touchdown. R.J. Potts scored an 80-yard touchdown pass. And then the next possession, we turned around and fumble again, and they scored quickly again. So it was just one of those things where you can't turn the ball over and expect to win. And we just didn't take care of the football on Friday night.
And trying to play defense against a 2-headed monster in the backfield of Freilich and Sweet Ann, along with a healthier Andrew Sweet under center. I mean, it probably got a little tougher, and that's. Seems like Westfield always has somebody in the backfield to come at you with. And
they were balanced. I mean, offensively, they were able to throw the ball just enough and able to run it, and then run it effectively. I think they had over 160 yards of rushing right at it and about 160 yards of pass, if I'm not mistaken, which, we struggled tackling their big back. I mean, he carried several of our linebackers a couple times, and you're just thinking, man, we're at the point of attack, but they're carrying us 3 or 4 more yards, and they're a good football team, well coached, a very well coached football team. Jake does an outstanding job, and I think you've seen the progression of their program over the last since he got there. I mean, it's just excelled significantly.
Well, in 5A, they're one of the premier programs. Now, let's talk a little bit about John Vore. John starting his second game, obviously very successful the prior week against Cathedral. This week, I had him 15 for 26 for 229 yards passing, which is by all means, that's good performance on his part.
Yeah, if for a sophomore to step in like he has, and the thing about John is he doesn't get rattled. He'll have a pass that he doesn't make or he doesn't connect it with his receiver, but he doesn't let that rattle him. And I think he throws a good deep ball. He understands our scheme and is understanding the scheme better as we were progressing throughout the rest of the season. But he has really done a nice job for us, I think, as a sophomore to do what he's been able to do in the first 2 games of his high school career as a starting varsity quarterback. It speaks volume of his maturity. I think he's done nicely for us.
I told Coach Wimmer last week, I had watched the game on Channel 40 the week before his first game, and for a sophomore and playing against a team like Cathedral for his baptism, shall we say, he looked very, very poised and very good.
And that's that's just who he is. He's just very calm and cool, collected, and he just sits back and kind of surveys his defense, and he's willing to take the opportunity to take those shots. And sometimes young quarterbacks aren't willing to do that, and he'll throw the deep ball, which he connected with R.J. Potts on a fade in the third quarter, and really was a change in our momentum, I would have to say, in terms of what we were doing offensively. And that's what we've got to have, and it's been nice to have that in the last 2 weeks, moving the ball with him at quarterback. So, and running the ball, what we have to do offensively is get back to running the football successfully. I think we're a team that likes to run it and rush for, 150 to 200 yards is kind of our goal, and we've not really hit that mark this season. And so we want to take a little bit of that pressure off of him. But he's a kid who's been able to handle that at this particular time of the season. So that's a nice surprise, that's for sure.
Yeah, last couple of minutes, we could probably take a look at this Week 9 game as we head over to Zionsville. And obviously on paper it's going to look like a couple identical ball clubs. But Zionsville's also got a tough tailback in Brendan Mikesell. And they're a team who can put up a lot of points, and they can give up a lot of points. So it's kind of a that double-edged thing. So it depends on which Fishers Tigers team heads over to Boone County.
That's correct, and that's that's what we were talking about today in film, watching film with our team. We were talking about how their offense is very dangerous, very, very dangerous, and then they do things on the special teams as well that make them dangerous and make them a challenge to prepare for. And so, we have to be disciplined in terms of what we're doing defensively, saying gap sound and gap responsible, wrapping up and making tackles, because he does find seams. He finds little creases, and he can bust big plays. Yeah. And so it's very important that we stay gap sound and make those correct opportunities, capitalize those opportunities when they present themselves, that we're securing tackles and gang tackling, those types of things as well.
How's the health of the team going into the final regular season game?
We're still progressing, I would have to say. We have a receiver that should be coming back this week, hopefully, and we have an offensive lineman that hopefully will start to come back as well. And those are two key positions. We got R.J. Potts and Devontae Adams that have been playing both offense and defense for us this season. And partly because one of our good receivers, tall receivers, lanky receivers, can really stretch the field vertically. Will Cyrus has been out with some injuries, so we're hoping to have him back and playing a little bit more this week as well. And then our center, senior center, who has only played in 2 games, but he was kind of a nice surprise this off season and what he was able to do in the preseason and camps and things like that. So getting him back and getting him healthy will be a huge boost to our offense as well.
Well, thank you, Coach, for coming in tonight. That's Coach Michael Kelly of the Fishers Tigers. We would like to mention one thing. Normally, Coach Matt Alfeld from the Hamilton Southeastern Royals is here with us on the Monday Night Coaches Show. Unfortunately, Coach Alfeld's stepfather passed away early this morning, so he is out of town and he will not be with us tonight. And our thoughts and prayers, obviously, are with Matt and all of his family. You're watching the Hamilton County Coaches Show brought to you by Greek's Pizza, Logan Street Signs and Banners, and Noblesville Trophies. We'll be back after these messages.
You know, when Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage. Logan Street Signs and Banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Have our own story about community.
I truly felt that each doctor, technician, and nurse had the same goal: provide exceptional care and make it simple.
Because of my chronic illness, I have an entire team on my side.
With Community's My Chart, I keep track of everything.
When community says exceptional care, simply deliver it. Those aren't just 4 words at the end of a TV spot.
It's for community patients at the end of a TV spot.
Telling you to believe every word.
You're back. Welcome back to the Hamilton County Coaches Show, our weekly visit with Hamilton County football coaches from the area. Brought to you tonight by Greek's Pizza, 317-773-4444. You can visit them or call them if you want to visit them in person. They're on South 10th Street here in Noblesville. Also our sponsors tonight, Logan Street Signs and Banners and Noblesville Trophies. Well, as you were coming in tonight, Coach, I said you've got to be the happiest coach in Hamilton County after that huge victory Friday night over Brownsburg. Congratulations.
Well, I certainly appreciate it, Brad. I was the happiest coach until we had practice tonight. We wanted our best. Certainly proud of our guys. You know, the one thing that we asked our kids to do going into Friday, we asked them to play harder longer, and we didn't know that would mean that we would have to pull 22 points out in 7 minutes at the end to win it. But the encouraging thing was our kids just kept playing hard, and it's exciting for them to get a reward at the end of a night where they didn't play their best football game but still found a way to win.
Yeah, it just, and that's, you know, a quote that I saw in the Indy Star. You know, when you said, "Hey, we're gonna get one more stop defensively. When we go back, we're gonna go and score," and I can just, you know, from back when I played, I can just feel that, you know, get that sense from a coach, you know, from a coach, and you just get so pumped up. The players had to be just, you know, 200% ready to get back out there and get that one more score, and that's obviously exactly what they did with that pass to Ginther, a second, you know, touchdown in a row, and then the 2-point conversion to seal it.
Yeah, it was you could feel the momentum shift, and I've been in games where it's gone both ways, and you know, we got a stop on 4th down. We were able to get some chunk yards and move the football down the field to get our first score. Once we got the first one, I thought, man, if we get one more stop, we're going to make this thing interesting because, you know, we had really opened things up offensively. We had spread the field, had some guys open, and felt like we were going to continue to have guys open. And so we were able to do that. We got one more stop, got another score, and at that point there was no doubt in our mind, you know, we were going to get a third stop. Our defense had a different bounce about them. And we really felt like we were in control of the line of scrimmage at that point. We still had 2 timeouts in our pocket, so we felt like, you know, we felt like everything was swinging in our favor. And that's when we made the decision to go for 2 because I wanted our kids to know what was going to take, exactly what was going to happen when they went back on the field. And we played enough guys on both sides of the ball in that 4th quarter to have to be able to communicate that message. But, you know, we just told them, hey, we're going to get a stop. We're going to get the ball back. When we score, we're going for 2. There's no questions asked. I wanted our kids to have it in their minds and to be able to plan so it wasn't a shock for them if we did get that score and trying to refocus them, you know, because the big part of that was we were out of timeouts. And so we were going into that last drive without a timeout and knew we wouldn't be able to get a timeout in to kind of refocus them a little bit.
Let's talk a little bit about something that's happened in Hamilton County football for 2 weeks in a row now. A week ago, the Fishers Tigers started a sophomore. This week, not really by choice, you guys ended up starting Grant Gremmel is your quarterback. First of all, what's the word on Ryan and how is he doing? Will he be back Friday?
He is progressing really well. Friday is still up in the air. We're at the point now where we got through tonight with it. He's making some progress with his injury. We feel comfortable with Grant right now in terms of his level of preparation. So Ryan really is just kind of day to day.
Talk a little bit about Grant and what he brought to the team this past weekend.
Here's what he brought. He brought, really, with Grant, we had a guy that was ready to do his job. He prepared at an unbelievable level, and it's really not any different than what he's done all year. He's really played really well at the JV level. He prepared really well going into the week. He had a great week of prep for us, and so it was not a surprise to see him go out and play well. When you look at his numbers, we had him at 20 for 40 for 233 yards, 240 yards. But when you factor in there, we had 8 drops offensively. He very easily could have been 28 for 40. And so Grant played really at a really high level in the first half. He was really consistent with his reads and with his ball placement. I went to him at halftime and said, "Hey, you just proved yourself. You just played your rear end off. You got to go back in there and pick your teammates up and rally your teammates." And for a sophomore to walk into a group that's a pretty veteran group, he did that. He walked in there and said, "Guys, we got this. We just got to keep digging." And in the fourth quarter, it showed. He caught fire. In those last 7 minutes, he led us on 3 scoring drives.
Yeah, and you see, looking at the stats, the running attack wasn't doing what it normally does, with the legs of Ryan Barnes in there to help out Chandler Hurst and Gonzalez. So you turn to the passing game, and obviously you talked about Grant and his 240 yards, so whatever it came to be, but he spread the ball around. It looked like, Ginther had 4 catches, 2 of those for touchdowns. Groover, 4. Thurman had 2. Plummer with a couple. Nick Ruzzi and Blake Taylor also in the mix. So kind of throwing off, Brownsburg's defense a little bit. Probably helped him out a lot.
Yeah, Grant gives us a different element, and not that Ryan can't throw, but Ryan brings so much to our run game that we're more balanced in run to pass. Grant isn't 215 pounds, and so for us it kind of shifted where we placed our priority, and we struggled to get our run game going in the first half because we missed out on opportunities in the passing game with drops. We would be 3rd and 7. Have a guy open and he would drop one, and it's like, well, geez, we didn't run a lot of plays in the first half, and then the second half being down 14 and then eventually down 21 after Brownsburg blocked the punt, we didn't have a choice but to start throwing the football to try and get back into it a little bit.
Got about a minute and a half left here, Coach, in the segment. Got a tough game coming up Friday night. The Avon Orioles come in, 7 o'clock kickoff. By the way, that'll be the hometown television game of the week. Our good friend Craig will be over there. I'm not sure who he's going to be with yet on Friday night.
I don't know. Might have to.
If it'll be Terry or Jack or somebody.
Who knows who it'll be?
You got a big game coming up Friday night against Avon, a team that's kind of been a little bit up and down in that. And they're 3-4. You're 3-4 in the season, and so it's kind of that should be a good game for you.
Well, it should be a good game for us. I think the big motivator for us is we have an opportunity to finish in a tie for second place in the HCC, and that would be the highest finish we've had in several years, and so that's not lost on our guys. We have a chance to finish the regular season at 5-4, and just sitting here right now after 8 games and being 4-4. So there's a lot of motivation. I think the biggest motivation is continuing to try and build momentum going into that sectional 4 game against Fishers, because we're going to need all the momentum we can get. That's a football team that's starting to play really well again, starting to find themselves, and so that will not be an easy game on October 28th.
Well, thank you very much for being here with us tonight, Coach, and good luck on Friday night. And once again, a reminder, the Noblesville Millers will be entertaining the Avon Orioles. That comes up Friday night about 6:50, 6:55 will be airtime. Craig will be there. Who will be with him is still a little bit up in the air yet. But Coach's Show is brought to you by Greek's Pizza on South 10th Street here in Noblesville. You can pick it up, dine in, or give them a call, 317-773-4444. Also our great other sponsors, Logan Street Signs and Banners. They're at 317-773-7200. And Noblesville Trophies, who offers a large range of products. They can be reached at 317-773-7391. We'll be right back after this message on Hometown Television.
You know, when Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage. Logan Street Signs and Banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Have our own story about community.
I truly felt that each doctor, technician, and nurse had the same goal: provide exceptional care and make it simple.
Because of my chronic illness, I have an entire team on my side.
With Community's MyChart, I keep track of everything.
When community says exceptional care, simply delivered, those aren't just 4 words at the end of a TV spot.
It's for community patients at the end of a TV spot.
Telling you to believe every word.
Good Monday evening and welcome to Hometown Television, the Monday night edition of the Hamilton County Coaches Show, representing the Hamilton Heights Huskies tonight. Craig, I'm going to let you go first on this one.
Coach, we kept seeing the updates on Twitter Friday night when you were up in Kokomo at Western, and it was one of those back and forth affairs, and obviously we were hoping that the Huskies would come out on top like they did, but it took a little bit of grit, didn't it?
Yeah, we had a pretty good game plan going in, and what ended up happening was we scored really quick, and we got a couple stops, and then we slowed down a little bit offensively, and then they put a drive together. They have a pretty good team, and their quarterback was hurt the week before and came out and actually started against us this week at quarterback rather than running back, and so he was able to throw the ball around a little bit, run the ball, do what he does, and do it really well. Just move the ball down, and then we threw an interception that went for a touchdown for them, and that put us down at halftime. But then we came back in the second half and they got the ball first, got a really good drive going, and we got a goal line stop, and then that just kind of gave us the energy to go back out there and finish the job that we started, and had a much better second half than we did first half.
Yeah, as Craig said, it was kind of a back and forth game there, but in looking at the statistics here, of course, no scoring in the third quarter, and then of course the difference comes in the fourth quarter when you outscore them 12-6 for the final tally of 25-21, and it also appears that you guys were probably pretty even as far as a passing and running game also.
Yeah, Jake Beal came in the second half because we're playing Clayton Cowan both ways. So Jake Beal came in and just gave us a little burst of energy, and just kind of drove down the field and took up time and stuff like that. And we scored early in the fourth quarter, and then they had a drive that scored, and then we got the ball back and zipped down the field and then scored again. Then got a 3-and-out and were able just to run the clock off. Riley White stepping into the quarterback position's done a really nice job, and we kind of have a handle on what he can do. And with us being able just to kind of control it and help him out as he takes on that learning curve, which he's done real well, we've been able to spread the ball around a little bit that way.
That kind of segued into how is the feel of the offense with Riley White at quarterback? Is it that much different than it was with Josh Feltz? Or
it's a little bit different. We're doing some different things with Riley being a little bit more of an athlete. We can boot with him a little bit and be able to run some option plays. We get veer back and we get some of that zone read stuff back, and that helps us out a ton. We're trying to throw the playbook out on a page at a time. But with him being a receiver coming in there, it's not that big of a learning curve because he knows the routes, knows the reads. He just needs to go out there and do it. And he's done a really nice job for us, and it's been real nice to get that part of our game back.
Well, it looks like ball control-wise, you guys did a really good job Friday night. No fumbles in the game, which is very positive.
Yeah, no fumbles. We didn't put the ball on the ground, and it's the first game all year that we've actually won the time of possession. So that's a really good thing for us. That's not what our offense is really built around. It's about kind of getting chunks when you can get them and scoring quick. So us being able to kind of control the ball a little bit and get first downs to keep the clock going. I mean, the game went by pretty quick because, both offenses were more of a possession offense this week. But, whenever you can limit your turnovers and carry the ball without worrying about hitting the ground, you're gonna feel better, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
It seems like it's a common theme with every game we've covered and most games around, but penalties seem to be kind of piling up. No matter if it's if the fall starts, a lot of holding or a lot of personal fouls, and things get kind of heated out on the field. And I mean, your Huskies had 6 penalties to 3 for Western, but did penalties have any sort of effect, especially in this back and forth affair?
Yeah, it seemed like for us the penalties happened when we were starting drives. We'd get a first down and then we'd get a false start. Stuff like that. With it being mostly a running attack on both sides of the ball, you'll get a holding or something like that. But most of ours were just, pre-snap mistakes, nothing extracurricular or anything like that. But, whenever you have situations like that, it kind of stalls you out. And, part of that could have been, it's still a new quarterback, a little bit different cadence. What we're doing with him's a little bit different. With him, we're trying to, run plays in just until we can get that learning curve back where we were signaling before. Mm-hmm. So when you do stuff like that, it kind of hurts your drives when you have to start at 1st and 15 rather than 1st and 10. But penalties weren't as big of a deal this week as they have been in past weeks.
Looking at your conference and the Hoosier Conference, you of course have an Eastern and Western division. In Northwestern, Hamilton Heights, and Tipton, all in the conference at 3-1, and in the Western Division, Lafayette Central Catholic looks like they're going to run away with it, and then comes Rensselaer Central at 2-2. Now Rensselaer Central will be coming to Arcadia on Friday night. Let's talk just a little bit about that game, a preview for you.
Rensselaer runs a single wing attack. They'll have all 11 of their personnel in the box, and they run a very similar style to what Northwestern did. They're really good at running the ball, controlling the clock. They don't make turnovers. They're a disciplined team. And from a defensive standpoint for us, going in there, we have to be able to win early down so that we can get them behind the chains, and we need to try and score early because that'll kind of influence them to get out of it because they do have some spread components, and if we can get them into that, that's more of our comfort zone with the athletes that we have. So if we can do that, we're going to feel good about ourselves. Defensively, they like to stunt and send stunts from boundaries and run some man concepts. So we'll have to have a good scheme up front to protect Riley and make sure that he has windows to throw to, because if our receivers get the ball, that's when we're at our best.
Yeah, and a team that runs in a wing formation like that, it could throw your defense off, and it could cause troubles because you're going to get those bigger backs in there, especially with Rensselaer Central tends to have some bigger boys as well in their backfield, and it'll be a test for your front seven.
Yeah, what we have to do, and we play really light linebackers. I mean, Riley White's one of them. He's a small kid, and Zach Stevens, who plays guards, 165 pounds. So being able to put them at the angles in which they can succeed is going to be beneficial for us. But we have to get good production out of our Troy Bergesons and Nick Burks and guys like that, so that we can control that front and let those guys come in and get there on the good angles.
That's Coach Ross Eckert of the.
Don't you have a special time party?
Yeah, the game starts at 8 o'clock there on Central Time Zone.
Oh, that's right.
So, and they're 2 hours away, so the game does start at 8 o'clock on Friday.
Okay, didn't have that down here. That's good to know. So, those of you who are going up to Arcadia Friday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, as Coach was saying, Rensselaer being in the Central Time Zone, it makes it a little bit more difficult for them to get down here. It's not only the time zone, but trying to navigate your way down I-65 on Friday night.
It's kind of a pain.
Thanks to Coach Ross Eckert of the Hamiltonites Huskies for being here with us tonight. This is the Hamilton County Coaches Show, brought to you by Greek's Pizza, Logan Street Signs and Banners, and Noblesville Trophies. We'll be back after these messages.
When Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage: Logan Street Signs and Banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Have our own story about community.
I truly felt that each doctor, technician, and nurse had the same goal: provide exceptional care and make it simple.
Because of my chronic illness, I have an entire team on my side.
With Community's My Chart, I keep track of everything.
When community says exceptional care, simply deliver it. Those aren't just 4 words at the end of a TV spot.
It's for community patients at the end of a TV spot.
Telling you to believe every word.
Welcome back to the Hamilton County Coaches Show here on another Monday evening in beautiful downtown Noblesville in the penthouse of the Wofford Suite. We'd like to thank our great hometown sponsors, Greek's Pizza, providing us with the excellent food every Monday night. You can stop by and see them on South 10th Street in Noblesville, or give them a call and order ahead, 317-773-4444. Our friends at Noblesville Trophies, and also our friends at Logan Street Signs and Banners. We're joined by Guerin Catholic head coach Tom Dilley. Tom, quite a weekend for you guys, taking on Chittard.
Yeah, it was a good ball game. It was a fun atmosphere, and our kids enjoyed competing.
Yeah, and it's it doesn't seem like it's the normal Chittard team, because obviously they're not, atop the 3A poll like they usually are, but they've always got the athletes.
Well, they always have the tradition and legacy and attitude and work ethic and physicality, and it's certainly that program is a lot more than athletes, and it's bigger than anybody that's been part of it. And we have tremendous respect for it. They understand how to win championships, obviously, and we just enjoy competing against them when we can.
This game almost looks like, Coach, like it was the two separate games, the tale of two halves. You go in with a 3-point deficit at halftime. You come back in the second half, and you shut out Chittard, which, first of all, is probably quite an accomplishment. You put 17 points on the board to win the game by a 31-17 margin. What did you tell those kids at halftime to get them to react that well?
Oh, they were just playing hard, and we got a couple takeaways, and that can make a big difference, obviously, especially in a game where possessions are somewhat limited, and It's going to come down to some field position and physicality in the lines, and so, our kids on both sides, we made some minute adjustments, and the kids did the rest and just played hard. And that 3-point deficit at half, it was big that we did score a touchdown with about a minute to go in the half to make sure we weren't too much in a hole. But coming out of halftime, our kids felt pretty good. We had started to play better in the second quarter, so. Didn't have to do a whole lot. They knew what they needed to do and how they needed to adjust, and we just got out of their way.
Yeah, and the guy who makes the offense go is obviously Carter McGinnis, and a line that I found from, I believe it was the Indy Star. They said he's a cold-blooded individual, and that seems to be a bold statement, obviously, about a high school tailback, but, I mean, he just gets out there and he finds ways to make it happen, and that's why you're 7-1.
He's certainly a big part of our team, and he definitely is a real competitor and a very talented athlete, and works really, really hard. And he'd be the first to tell you that while he's a big part, he's certainly not the only thing that makes it go. A lot of guys work real hard to execute as a team. That's what's so great about this game.
I think what's one of the most positive things for your team, and you just look top to bottom on your schedule. You guys played a very, very rough schedule this year. You played some really, really good teams. Obviously the only loss you've had is against Central Catholic, but Brebeuf is no easy team. Chittard, especially going to their place. It was nothing easy. And of course, this week you have Ron Colley coming up that we'll talk about, in a little bit. But Luke Keller just seems to have grown into the quarterback job and really matured in that, and just really done a great job for you.
No, Luke's been great. He's calmed some nerves he may have had early in the season. He's gotten better, I think, every start. His preparation habits are outstanding every week, and he's really studying, and I think he's won the respect of his teammates through his work ethic and his calm demeanor, and I think while Luke would be the first to tell you that we probably needed to calm him in the first couple weeks a little bit. He's really that steadying influence for a lot of other guys now. I think he really has come a long way as a leader. He's done a nice job, and we're looking forward to this week and watching him play again.
Talk about your defense Friday night. Obviously, neutral territory playing at Arsenal Tech, and responding the way they did in the second half by shutting Chittard out for the third and fourth quarters. That says a lot about your defense.
Sure. No, they did a great job, and I thought they got better throughout the game. Everybody on defense, including the coaches, would probably be quick to say that we weren't playing the way we would like to early in the football game. Probably weren't winning the physical battle, but they picked it up and did a better job in the second half. They tackled a lot better. We had a couple leverage issues that let them break out for at least one long run that set up a touchdown, and then of course you take the football away a couple times in the second half, and that makes a huge difference.
Coach, we talked a little bit earlier here about Luke Keller and about Carter McGinnis and how both of them really contributed to the game. Give us a couple other stars of the game, both offensively and defensively.
Well, I think a couple kids that have really stepped up in skilled positions for us offensively are Thomas Kaiser, a junior wide receiver who's really a tailback by trade, but with Carter there, hasn't played a lot there, but he's a nice versatile kid that can run and catch. And Grant Freemian is a good athlete on the outside who has done some good things for us this year. Corbin Lane, a really hard-nosed, hard-working, tough physical blocker and a really sure-handed receiver. Defensively, this particular game, both of our linebackers were huge, and physically they're not huge. They're not really. They're a little bit undersized, but Logan Weaver and Charlie Bach. Logan's a junior. Charlie's only a sophomore, and they were huge for us in the game. And we had a sophomore starting at free safety who's really matured the last couple of weeks too. Dylan Cross, and he has played really well, and a cornerback who isn't normally part of your run support. When you play Bishop Chatard, they'll force that boundary corner a lot of times to be a run support player. Senior Max Gorsuch did a heck of a job there in our other corner, senior Cash Hale. I thought both played really physical, good ball games.
And something that's going to happen this Friday when Roncalli comes to town. First time in school history, and for any of the 4 schools in the Circle City Conference, you'll be playing for a conference championship this Friday night. Talk about what Roncalli brings. Obviously, they're number 1 in 4A right now, and coming in undefeated at 8-0. But what kind of threat on each side of the ball they bring?
Coach Cyphers is as good as they get, and his staff has done a great job every year. But we haven't followed them closely over the past couple of years, but certainly this year paying a little bit more attention. And they're just solid everywhere. We don't see a glaring weakness. They're very balanced on offense, and the quarterback can run and throw, and doesn't seem to be a kid that gets very rattled, and makes plays with his feet, keeps plays alive, and makes plays down the field with his arm. And the running game is physical, but they have a good speed element to it on the outside, and good skilled players all around. And the Roncalli offensive line is a typical, traditional, what I remember as a Roncalli offensive line. They're always going to be good. Defensively, I guess I would characterize them as a great pursuit team. They simply fly to the ball. They play with great effort, great enthusiasm. They play as a group. They understand where their help is. They leverage with each other and squeeze the ball pretty well. So not a glaring weakness, but we're going to go out and try to execute our game plan, and so are they, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Coach Tom Dilley of the Guerin Catholic Golden Eagles, congratulations on a great victory over Chatard last Friday, and a lot of people looking forward to seeing Roncalli this Friday at the Eagles Nest. That'll be a 7 o'clock start. You're watching the Hamilton County Coaches Show, brought to you by Greek's Pizza, Logan Street Signs and Banners, and Noblesville Trophies. We'll be back with more coaches after this.
When Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage: Logan Street Signs and Banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Have our own story about community.
I truly felt that each doctor, technician, and nurse had the same goal: provide exceptional care and make it simple.
Because of my chronic illness, I have an entire team on my side.
With Community's My Chart, I keep track of everything.
When community says exceptional care simply delivered, those aren't just 4 words at the end of a TV spot.
It's for community patients at the end of a TV spot.
Telling you to believe every word.
There ya.
Welcome back to the Hamilton County Coaches Show. I'm Brad Silbert. Craig Atkins is furthest to my left, and Mr. 400, Sheridan football coach Bud Wright, is here in the center. And I don't know if we can get a picture of this or not, but if you can't read that, what it says on there, congratulations, Coach, win number 400. And that all happened Friday night, and that had to be not only a satisfying individual victory for you, Bud, but quite an accomplishment to win number 400. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It was a very good evening for us, and like I say, it was a nice night, so everything went off pretty good.
Well, I'm told that there are 13 other active coaches across the country that have 400 wins. And another oddity that happened the other night is two other coaches, one in Maryland and another one in Iowa, both won their 400th game. So I think they were trying to upstage you, man.
Upstaged already?
Well, let's talk about the game Friday night. A big victory for the Blackhawks.
Right. We came out. Really, we had a little slow start. Then they jumped right out in their first series and scored on us. And our kids looking at the 07 team, didn't think they would have to play that hard. But they realized right away that, hey, this team wasn't going to roll over. And then they got straightened out, and then we played pretty good from there on in.
Yeah, and I mean, just rolling off 49 straight points. I think, just them waking up, just says something big. You've got, like you keep saying, all the young guys. They all, especially starting with like Joe Callahan and Drake Delph.
Right.
They're just making things happen, and Callahan having a great year, pushing 1,500 yards on the ground, and Drake Delph running your offense as a sophomore.
Right. It looks like there's a bright future, but we don't want to look at that until this year's over. But you're right. We're starting 7 sophomores and 1 freshman, and it's not as bad as it seems because like 5 of those freshmen got a lot of experience last year on the varsity. So even though they are still sophomores, they got a lot of varsity experience.
Let's talk a little more about the game. Statistically, other than the 6 points you gave up early in the game, you guys really played what would have to be considered an excellent game. The only real negative I saw in all the stats was the fact that you guys did fumble 5 times and lost it twice. But other than that, rushing yards, passing yards, everything else looked like it just really fell into place and everything worked good for you.
Yeah, I did. We saw on film that they were weak against the pass, so we decided to throw the ball a little bit. I actually planned on throwing the ball more than I did, but we got in there and threw 3 touchdown passes and such there, and got up. And then when you get up big, you don't want to throw the ball. You don't want to rub things in, so we didn't throw the ball anymore and just sort of grounded out. And our reserves played the 4th quarter. And actually, as far as their yardage is concerned, our second group gave up a 50-yard run that's on that total. So their rushing total wasn't near as much as far as against the varsities as it looked.
And a team that's based on the run, like your teams are, it's probably kind of nice to break out of that a little bit.
Right. Yeah, we was Drake had been wanting to throw the ball a little bit more, and it was a good night for him. He broke out. He had 5 out of 8 for 3 touchdowns, and that was a real good night for him.
Can't beat that ratio.
No, that's the first time he's had for a long time had a good ratio or a good quarterback rating. So he was happy with it, and I told him, well, I hope this grows now. He'll start throwing the ball, and maybe we can score a little bit more through the air.
Let's talk about some individuals here, Coach. We've already talked about the quarterback position, a little bit about running and in that, but give me a couple more offensive stars of the game and a couple defensive stars of the game, the kids that made the difference this week for you.
Well, again, I think our difference makers was our defensive front. Our defensive front's pretty strong, and we got some good kids up there. But the 2 kids that led us in tackles this week was a sophomore linebacker and a junior safety, or outside backer or safety, however we want to play. But they led the team in tackles, so they got a little bit glory too. Cole Cummings and Jesse Kolb led the team in tackles. I think they each had 6 tackles, and one of them had 2 assists, the other had 5 assists. So that was a good spot for us. And we got 2 interceptions on them, defensive backs, and now we got Brody Perry has got 4 interceptions on the year, and the first 3 games we didn't have any interceptions at all, and now as team wise we got 10 interceptions after the first 3 games. So we're proud that the defense has really been stepping up, really been doing a nice job.
Yeah, we got about a little over a minute left. Big game coming up for the Hoosier Heartland Conference title this Friday night. This time you had 2 Carroll over in Flora, and both of you come in at 4-0 in the conference. And on paper, it looks like Carroll is a big-time scoring team, but it was the 13-0 game last time you 2 played back in September.
Yes, and we felt like then that we would like to have them again as far as concerned, because in that ball game we had 22 first downs and they had 4.
Wow.
And the only time they crossed our 50 was the 2 times that they scored, and that was on a 71-yard pass and an 82-yard run. Those are the only 2 times all night long they crossed our 50.
Wow.
And they only had, like I say, 4 first downs. So we dominated everything in that ball game, but we come out 13 to nothing loser. In that ball game we ran like 78 plays, and they ran 37, and you still get beat 13-0. So our kids is looking forward to a rematch with them.
Redemption.
But they got a strong ball club. They've got better. We've watched film on them and such there, and they've got a lot better since we played them, and hopefully we got a lot better. The big difference is that right now they're 8-0 and we're 5-3.
Coach Bud Wright of the Sheridan Blackhawks, congratulations on a great victory in the number 400 victory, and good luck against Carroll on Friday night.
Thank you.
This is the Hamilton County Coaches Show, brought to you by Greek's Pizza, Logan Street Signs, and Noblesville Trophies. We'll be back in a few moments. After a message, we're going to go right to the interview that Perry Williams did this afternoon with Coach Jake Gilbert from Westfield.
Welcome to Hamilton County Coaches Show. I'm Perry Williams, and alongside of me is Jake Gilbert. Hey, Jake, how are you today?
Fantastic. How are you?
Well, you had a very close game on Friday night. Want to talk a little bit about it? You won 31-24 over a Fishers team that I would say is a very good 0-5 in conference football team. I mean, the week before they beat Cathedral, which was one of the top teams in the state. So let's talk a little bit about that first quarter. Fishers jumped out into a 10-0 lead. Want to go ahead and talk about that first quarter? And
I thought we were playing well the first quarter, the first half. We just could not hang on to the football, unfortunately. But we played great defense. We just put our defense in a tough spot. We had fumbled. We had had 5 turnovers in 7 games coming in, which is outstanding.
Yes.
And we turned the ball over 4 times in the first half against Fishers. So kudos to them. But we struggled to hang on to it a little bit. So to be honest with you, to be down 10-9 at halftime, we were very fortunate and felt like we were playing fine, and we just needed to hang on to the football.
Absolutely. Once again, you had a pretty balanced attack with both running the ball and throwing the ball. 170 and 169. You can't get much better.
That's
than
pretty
that.
close, yeah.
That's pretty close. But let's talk a little bit about that defense, because you had an outstanding game after that first touchdown. You guys played pretty good football the rest of the game.
Definitely. We, again, we put our defense in tough positions with short fields because of the turnovers. We gave up one long one to Potts over the top, which hurt, obviously, but more of a great player making a play on our sophomore corner, So we gave up one big one, but then otherwise, I thought we did some good things. We got a couple takeaways in the second half to help our offense out, and we played pretty well. We got a little bit tired. They scored once in the fourth quarter, and I think we got a little fatigued at the end. But otherwise, we were pretty lights out in the second and third and fourth quarter to the very end, minus the one big play by Potts.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Coach. Sheridan had another good game, almost 100 yards and 20 carries. And of course, your quarterback, Sweet, had 13 for 20 for 169 yards. You want to talk about the performance, and you threw to quite a few receivers. I mean,
yeah, that was neat. Well, first off, I think Andy played really well, minus the fumbles. The fumbles were a problem. We fumbled on the 1-inch line going in.
Yeah,
that was rough. But I thought his leadership was excellent. I thought he was a fierce competitor and wasn't going to let us lose. I just thought he had a chip on his shoulder and was ready to go. And he did what he had to do for us to win. I liked that we were able to spread the ball around and get some other guys involved other than Evan Manley. But Evan Manley caught 2 touchdown passes over one of the best players in the state. So I think, it'd be hard to say anything else about Evan other than he's one of the best wide receivers out there. And then Johnny Sweden did a great job. We were without Nate Freilich, who is typically our starter, along with Johnny in the backfield. And Johnny had to pick up the slack, and he did. He had some good hard runs. He had a 17-yard touchdown run for us at one point in the fourth quarter that was just like all guts and effort, which is what he is.
well, that's good. And the amazing thing about it, I can remember at the first of the season, you were talking about Sweet getting his opportunity to be quarterback for Westfield this season, and how great of a leader he was and has always been, and you were looking forward to have him as a quarterback. And I think pretty much this season he's kind of lived up to that.
Yeah, for the most part, he's had a good year. He had missed one game due to injury, and so that game and kind of the following game obviously were a little tough on us. But I feel like he's rounding back into shape now, and I thought he played really well Friday, minus the fumbles.
Yeah, and I guess this is the time of year you need to be hitting on all cylinders. You have one game left with Brebeuf. Want to talk a little bit about Brebeuf and what you may expect from them?
Sure. Scrappy bunch, play really hard, good defense. Quarterback hurt us last year. They, are 4-4, I think, but they just beat Cathedral. So we're prepared to play a good football team. Last year, I thought we took them a little bit lightly, and they should have beat us. They handed it to us in the first half for sure, and then we were able to come back from down 21 points and win the game. But I don't think we'll take them lightly this year.
Coach, we don't ever want to overlook, the final opponent here, but sectionals coming up here. How much different is it going to be as far as you preparing your team with that first, weekend bye, which is, this is the first year for that? Is there, obviously if you have anybody injured, it's a good thing because they can rest, or those little nagging injuries, but how do you keep them sharp, and what do you have to do with that type of experience?
Well, we'll spend our entire week on Brebeuf this week, and then next week we'll spend some time on Lafayette Jeff, but we'll also, during that bye week, we'll give our kids some time off. We'll go 3 days, and then we give them off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday, of course, and our staff for the most part. So we try to get refreshed and come back ready to work. But while we're here those 3 days, we work hard on team building and leadership training and goal setting, and we do some off-the-field things that it's hard to have time to do during the season, and just try to improve the chemistry of our team and some of the intangibles.
Also, you have fall break next week. Is that correct?
Right.
Is that play into it at all?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So that's in terms of giving people time off. We don't have school, so we literally get off, and it's not bad. We come back refreshed, maybe a little sloppy in the beginning, but we generally, I think it helps us to get rested up and get mentally refocused on the playoff run.
Yeah. Now, Coach, I know that you're getting ready to start what most coaches call their second season with tournament play. Do you feel pretty good about your football team and how they performed this season? Because I know you've had some injuries, but you've overcome some of those injuries, and it's just basically that next man up kind of mentality.
Yeah, well, overall we've been pretty healthy, really. I know we missed a quarterback for a game and our tailback this past game, but we, I think we've played really well. I feel great about our football team. We have the 2 one-point losses, one of which was in overtime, to 2 really, really good teams who are battling out for the championship in our league. So I feel great about our team. We easily could have been undefeated if we would have made a play or two here or there. But, I think we continue to get better, and I feel like we've got a very bright future in this 5A state tournament.
Yeah, and it's like we talked earlier in the season, it's always very, very helpful to play in the conference you play in because week in, week out, there's no patsies in that league, and especially with us being so close together here in Hamilton County, there's not any secrets that you have,
Right.
so you have to do a lot of scheming and different things and different looks on this, on that. So, top to bottom, it's hard to beat the Hoosier Crossroad Conference.
This year in particular, the parity is nuts. So we're all just about equal, to be honest.
Yeah,
so
that's so true. And in
coming
fact,
out of our conference with 2 one-point losses, I think is pretty good because, there's no weak sisters. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you taking time out today to talk to us, and best of luck against Brebeuf. Is that here or away?
It's home.
Okay, so that'll be senior. Is that your senior night?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so that's always it's kind of a mixed bag for a coach, isn't it? He loses a bunch of great seniors, but also I know you feel like you prepared them for their next step in life, and that's
nothing but joy.
Yeah.
Nothing but joy.
All right, Coach, thanks a lot, and I'll see you next week.
Okay, see
All
you.
right,
Thank you.
Booyah! Welcome back to the Hamilton County Coaches Show on Hometown Television with your host, Perry Williams, and your host, Craig Atkins, and your host, Brad Silbert. Oh, Wofford, what more can you expect? I don't know. The Hamilton County Coaches Show is brought to you by our friends at Greek's Pizza on South 10th Street here at Noblesville. Pick it up at their restaurant on South 10th, dine in, eat out, or they'll deliver. 317-773-4444. They deliver right here to the palatial Wofford Arms in our penthouse studios every Monday night, and they're always right on time. Also brought to you tonight by Logan Street Signs and Banners, specializing in last-minute signage and banners. You can reach them at 317-773-7200, or their website is www.loganstreetsigns.com. Our final sponsor, Noblesville Trophies, offering a large range of products, including sports trophies, corporate awards, and in-house embroidery. Call them at 317-773-7391 or check them out online at www.noblesvilletrophies.com. Craig, we've got a lot coming up this week. I did want to mention one thing again, the fact that our friend Matt Allfeld was not able to be here with us tonight from Hamilton Southeastern High School. Unfortunately, his stepfather passed away, so he is with his family up in northern Indiana, so I know all of our thoughts and prayers will be with Matt. A couple big games coming up this weekend. First of all, on IHSAATV.org, Jerry Baker and Jan Bozier will have the call of Brownsburg at Hamilton Southeastern for the Hoosier Crossroad Conference title. And you are going to be over at Noblesville on Friday night for Avon and Noblesville. What do you expect from that game?
It'll be interesting to see how Noblesville responds because Bryant Fitzgerald, a great tailback they've got with Avon, who's I believe he's committed to Indiana, and it'll be interesting to see how Noblesville responds to how they came out with that huge victory at Brownsburg to send the game over at 126th and Noblesville for a little bit of a loop that you'll be there live for.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the Brownsburg at HSE game. I don't think anybody ever, really figured that we would go down to the last week of the season to determine the championship. But Brownsburg and Hamilton Southeastern both coming off of losses. In the case of Hamilton Southeastern, as the people over there would say, we were just never in the game, and they came up against a really, really good team from Waubonsie Valley outside of Chicago. The Bulldogs, they came up against a very determined Noblesville team. So I think the key to the whole thing is going to be how are these teams going to respond this week.
Well, I mean, we saw Hamilton Southeastern had troubles with the over-the-top throws that the gunslinger Tanner Westwood had. The 5'11", 155-pounder. We didn't think that he'd be a gunslinger like he is, but kid has a good arm, and they've got once they can get their tailback Ashford out in Southeastern found out they had trouble with picking up the run out of the backfield too.
Yeah, and Brownsburg has got an excellent quarterback and a good running game and a good passing game, so it really ought to be a really, really good game this week. What else we got coming up on Hometown this week?
I believe it's Saturday, Jim. Saturday will be the cross-country regional, and that's going to be at
10:30.
10:30 a.m.
It'll be live internet if we have internet.
We'll try to have that as live as possible. Internet sometimes a little bit sketchy, but hopefully we'll have that live for you. The cross country regional, and gonna be obviously we're having great weather so far.
Yeah,
and
Indian summer, you might even want to call it.
Indian summer, and it's obviously good for the cross country runners, and it'll be a nice, cool Friday night for football games as well.
And we may have the bonus game, the Westfield game.
And we're also looking at the possibility of bringing you some coverage from Westfield, so that you'll have to look at the website on later. We're working on that. We're not sure whether that's going to be able to happen or not. But as the fall sports season begins to wind down, we get ready to transition from football and volleyball and cross country on over to boys and girls basketball. We're going to have a full slate of boys and girls basketball games here on Hometown through the winter, and a lot of exciting things going on here. So one more week for the Coaches Show. Next week that will do it for us, and then we'll go into sectional play in the in Hamilton County, and so that's about going to wrap it up for us on Hometown Television tonight. This is Craig Atkins. I'm Brad Silbert. Thank you for joining us. Good night.